Appreciate it. All right, folks, when we come back, we've got a special exclusive live interview. There's a group of silence breakers who have been very vocal in the Harvey Weinstein case. One of those silence breakers, Anna Wilding, will join us live, tell her story, and give us a whole lot of insight into the casting couch culture that is Hollywood. We'll be right back. You're taking a look at a Time Magazine Person of the Year cover from 2017, and the Person of the Year 2017 were the Silence Breakers. All those brave women who came forward to tell their stories and speak their truths about the men who harassed and sexually assaulted them. It was all part of this huge movement that sort of gave that energy to Me Too, which had existed but then suddenly became big worldwide movement. And that was 2017. That's when the whole Harvey Weinstein story broke, and obviously his case was at the forefront of all of it, and so many women came forward against Harvey Weinstein. And a subset of these silence breakers are the Harvey Weinstein silence breakers. And before the trial started in New York City, that group issued a statement on Instagram. Take a look, take a listen.
As one of the silence breakers, I stand in solidarity with the brave survivors who will take the stand against Harvey Weinstein in this trial.
We stand in solidarity
with Annabella Sciorra, Mimi Halle, Dawn Dunning, and all of the women who will courageously testify against Harvey Weinstein in court.
For decades, Weinstein wielded his power to mentally, physically, and professionally abuse and silence women with impunity.
Starting today, he will finally be forced to face his accusers and reckon with the consequences of his monstrous crimes.
Whether we are in the courtroom or supporting our fellow silence breakers from around the world, we are all in awe of their selflessness and bravery.
We will continue to support them by speaking out and telling our stories until this serial predator
is brought to justice.
And joining me tonight in an exclusive interview, director and producer Anna Wilding. Anna, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate you coming on, because your perspective and what you're going to talk about tonight, I think, is so important for all of us, not only this issue, but as we take a look at the Harvey Weinstein case that's happening in New York City. Let me begin here with the silence breakers. Tell me about the group, their mission, and how important this group is to you.
This group is incredibly important. This is a man who created havoc on our lives, and when he didn't get what he wanted, he forcibly got what he wanted. I want to be very clear that the women who are standing on the trial, the women who are the silence breakers, these are the women that said no. These are the women that said no to the predators in the film business that operated like this, Harvey, of course, being a main one of those men. So their testimony coming forward is incredibly powerful. These are not the enablers. These are the women who said no, and they are to be believed, and we are to be believed.
Tell me the importance of the message that the silence breakers have. What is the message, and what is the importance of it?
The importance is that men who, or anyone who does this, can be brought to justice, that you can survive it. The message is to women that you do not have to put up with it, that you can take action, and that you will survive, and that you will get through this. And the message to men out there is stop. Stop doing this to women. Stop abusing your power.
So from your perspective now, being one of these silence breakers who's come out very forcefully, how closely are you following what's happening in this trial, and how important is the result of this trial for you personally?
I've I've been following it very, very closely. It's a very important trial to me personally. It's a very important trial to women around the world. It is so hard to get a rapist to the witness stand. It is so hard to be believed as a woman around the world. And this hopefully will shatter that ceiling that women are not heard and believed. It's important to me personally because over the last 15 years, I have been intimidated. I have had people Harvey Weinstein has hired who have tried to destroy my career, my credibility. They've tried to demean me, patronize me. They've attacked me online. They've threatened my life. They even, I will say December the 31st, when I connected with Time's Up and a couple of other people again, I got a note to say that my phone had been compromised. 3 days ago, I found that the Wikipedia page on me had been compromised, and it tracked back again to the same people that had been creating havoc online over 10 or 15 years ago. I'm thankful this time that Wikipedia was able to fix it, but they tried again to demean and degrade and humiliate myself, my life, and those around me.
Let me ask you this, because I've been covering trials for a long time. And the one thing about a criminal trial, prosecutors have the burden beyond any and all reasonable doubt. No outcome is guaranteed. We never know what 12 people will do in that jury room. I've been shocked at the ends of cases. From your perspective, let's say, I want to take one scenario here. We don't know what's going to happen, but what if this jury comes back and says not guilty?
I would be very surprised. I don't know if a retrial is possible.
Not possible in the United States.
Okay, so in that case, I think it is of grave concern to a lot of women that Harvey will return to Hollywood. It's a concern of mine. It's a concern of mine that he will continue to hire these third parties, these intelligence agencies, these computer companies to attack myself and these other women, that we will continue to be pushing a very hard rock ball forward to try and keep our careers going. We have all lost work. All had to find other ways to do our work and our careers. We've had to reinvent ourselves. We've had to completely change our lives. We can still work professionally. We're still great at what we do, but it's been that much harder for us. So I think we're scared. We're scared. In my case, I have put up with 10 or 15 years of intimidation.
Well, let's get to that. Let's get to that, Anna. Let's let the viewers know your interaction with Harvey Weinstein. Did anything ever happen between you and Harvey Weinstein? Did you ever come in contact with him through your work?
I absolutely came in contact through him, through my work. I was in my 20s. I was a very sort of hot commodity in the film business. I was working as a producer. I was an actress who was at the apex. I think Vogue Italy was writing about me. I was starting to sign some very, very big contracts. Companies were meeting with me, meeting to discuss my projects that I had as an actor. And I had been to some Miramax events, of course. I was going to Cannes multiple times. I was living between London and here. When I met Harvey one-on-one in an elevator, I had actually been raped previously, and this is the first time I'm saying this publicly, by one of the most powerful and richest men in the world. And the first assault of that took place on two super yachts that were at the Cannes Film Festival called Black Knight and Sophie, which sailed in tandem. On those boats they were guarded by ex-Mossad agents, much like the kind that Harvey has hired now. So when I met Harvey in an elevator, I think I had a meeting with Miramax at a film festival. All the companies have offices in hotel suites, much like any conference in any business, whether it's mechanical engineering,
sure,
aviation, whatever it is, just normal. And I found myself on the way into the elevator, and Harvey was already in the elevator, and I wasn't meant to be meeting him till later in the hotel room. And I went to go in. I had heard about his reputation, but I didn't hear about it to the extent that I thought that he was physically molesting someone. I knew there was an issue that he expected people to sleep with him, but I think every girl thinks, I won't have to do that. I mean, you know, maybe some will do that, and, you know, but that's not going to happen to me. It has obviously happened to everyone, pretty much. I was very lucky. I had two men around me, and I wish I could remember who they were, but I knew them, and they said to me, no, Anna, to Harvey, they said to him directly, no, Harvey, not Anna, no, Harvey, not this one. And it just always stuck in my mind because it showed an intent. It showed a situation where a man was being predatory. He was...
And it seems that people around him knew what was going on. So, Anna, I want you to stay with us. When we come back, I want to talk a little more detail about the casting couch culture in Hollywood, how it works, how it doesn't work, what the expectations are, what really happens. That's coming up next.
People are yelling his name as if he's Brad Pitt or George Clooney. Nobody had that brand recognition as a studio. Harvey Weinstein was a brand.
Barry Average made the documentary Unauthorized, a Harvey Weinstein project in 2011. The film looked at Weinstein's rise from student concert promoter to famed Hollywood mogul.
Some 7-8 years ago, everybody hinted, are you going to cover this part about Harvey? Or nobody would go on record with this because he was still powerful. He still owned the town. He still ran the business. And so nobody would go there.
Average says Weinstein fought him on the making of his film and was particularly sensitive about an interview he did with the late George Hickenlooper. He directed Factory Girl with Sienna Miller and Hayden Christensen.
When we were making Factory Girl, Harvey wants to reshoot, and one of the things he wants to reshoot is the sex scene. All right, so Hayden, Sienna, it's gonna be sexy.
He described the way Harvey wanted sex scenes filmed very aggressively, and Harvey was well aware of that interview. He was aware of that sequence in the film and fought me like cats and dogs to get that sequence out of there.
What you're gonna do is you're gonna burr and burr and burr and burr.
At the time, it was the only on-camera clue that hinted at Weinstein's alleged sexual deviance. 8 years later, those allegations exploded onto front pages and newscasts around the world.
First up this morning, new disturbing allegations today against Harvey Weinstein.
A deluge of allegations ever more serious.
The film producer faces arrest after more than 100 women.
Weinstein has been indicted by a grand jury in New York.
The number of women accusing Weinstein has ballooned to nearly 90 since the news first broke of his sexual misconduct. Average followed up with a sequel in 2018 called The Reckoning.
It's hard to imagine Harvey without Hollywood and Hollywood without Harvey, because Harvey was just an institution.
I wanted to go and make a film that not only exposed what Hollywood knew and was keeping a secret, but the fact that, you know, Harvey was allowed to practice his way of Hollywood and his way of show business for so many years with everybody looking the other way.
You heard the stories of like, don't be alone with Harvey. Why can't I be alone with Harvey? Now it's Harvey Weinstein, so if Harvey Weinstein looks at you.
But despite the stories, the appeal of working with Weinstein was hard to resist.
Harvey Weinstein was one of these, you know, psychopathic characters who just knew what to say on any particular topic and was such a great seducer, and talent loved him because he can talk their language.
I'd like to thank Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein, who believed in us and made this movie.
Harvey Weinstein. Thank you, Harvey Weinstein.
It wasn't just actors. Weinstein was a draw for A-list directors like Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, and James Ivory. He talked about the downside of working with Weinstein.
We were making Mr. and Mrs. Bridge, and we had a screening. He wanted us to do things to the film, and we didn't want to do it. And he started raving and ranting and charging around the room.
Ivory nearly backed out of the interview.
In James Ivory's case, he canceled along the way to the interview, called me from the subway and said, I can't do it. I have to be able to, you know, work with him again, and there's nobody else to go to. And it was the same thing for Scorsese for a time. Nobody was going to make Gangs of New York. Nobody.
To defeat my enemy, I extinguish his life, consume him as I consume these flames.
The other studios weren't going to take risks on, an unknown scripts and unknown actors, and Harvey was the last stop and one of the best stops to go to.
Weinstein had a knack for not just getting films made, but getting them Oscar buzz. Cider House Rules was a good example. The film starred then little-known actor Tobey Maguire.
I'm not a doctor.
Harvey got behind it, and everybody was looking at it all of a sudden. It was becoming a hit, and that's just because Harvey did a 180 and said, okay, I'll get behind this film.
You know how to help these women. How can you not feel obligated to help them when they can't get help anywhere else?
Cider House Rules won Academy Awards for Best Screenplay and Best Supporting Actor in 1999. The $22 million film went on to earn $88 million at the box office. While Weinstein's reputation lies in tatters, Averich believes his films won't suffer the same fate.
I think for the public, they remember the titles. They don't remember the fact that it was Harvey Weinstein. They'll see a credit come up and go, oh, that's that guy, but then you get lost in the film right away.
It was like an open secret, right? That's the way Harvey Weinstein did business, and that's what that film was all about. Let's bring back in Anna Wilding is joining us tonight. And Anna, you're a director, producer, actor, photographer, all of it. You kind of do everything out there. Let's talk about the casting couch culture, okay?
Sure, Vinnie.
How blatant is it? I mean, how upfront are people about this? Because everything that I'm hearing is like everyone knew about Harvey Weinstein. But let's take a look at Hollywood as a total. I mean, is it everywhere? Is it rampant? And is it way out in the open and there's other stories people aren't talking about?
There's absolutely other stories people are not talking about. I've been followed and accosted in parking lots by studio heads or head of distribution companies. I've been cast as the lead in a film and then been told I had to go to the producer's house to sign the contract. This is after 3 months of meetings to sort out that I was the right actress for the role in the first place, only to be hit with the casting couch at the last minute. I said no, I complained about that. It is prevailing. However, I want to make a distinction here, and that is I cannot say whether these other men are raping women. I cannot say whether they are physically assaulting them. They're definitely, many of them, trying for quid pro quo. There is no question. And there are enablers to that. And there
Let me hold you on that one word, because I've heard that word a couple times from you. You said enablers. What do you mean when you say enablers?
I literally mean those who cover for Harvey, perhaps girls who do get sucked in and say yes for a role. I mean assistants. We've already heard from assistants who've signed NDAs who couldn't speak when they had to cover for Harvey. And in their case, they're thrust into a position where they're having to enable him. In order for Harvey to have survived, he had enablers. He had a cabal of agents, very powerful agents who knew what he was up to. He had a cabal of perhaps some women, some assistants.
Well, one thing we heard today, Anna, one thing we heard today in the courtroom from one of the witnesses was that, and this is her version of what happened, is that Harvey Weinstein's assistant, Bonnie, was with Harvey Weinstein, brought her up to the hotel room, and 3 contracts put on the table, 3 roles, 3 big Miramax movies. But the accuser says that she would have had to have done a threesome with Harvey Weinstein and his assistant. And she said no.
Yes, as I said before, these are the women who said no. The silence breaker is the woman you are hearing from. It is awful, and that assistant probably may have been put in a position where she found herself trapped and being enabled or not, or maybe she was there willing. I mean, I have to say, I did meet a mistress of Harvey's in London. She said that Harvey treated her very well and bought her a Picasso and an apartment in London. So there we have a prime example of an enabler who probably knew more than she was letting on. But for this is not normal behavior. This man is assaulting and raping women, and when women say no to him, which many do and many have, he gets vindictive And he creates this intimidation, this environment
And that's what we're hearing.
And fear.
That's exactly what we're
Yes.
hearing in the courtroom as well.
Yes.
So let me ask you
Yes.
this. This story, I started this whole segment off with the Time magazine cover from 2017 when this story broke, right? Me Too, silence breakers. Are things changing? Can they change?
I have to say, as far as Hollywood is concerned, everyone's just ducking. I think the amount of us who aren't getting phone calls returned or we've given up, I don't think a lot has changed in Hollywood. I think people are still very, very scared. They're waiting for the outcome of the trial. I think if there is a guilty plea, a guilty verdict, I think Hollywood will be opening its doors much more. I think it is going to bring a sea change in Hollywood. When the story first broke, word on the street is that 6 Hollywood executives, studio heads and main distribution companies called their lawyers because this is prevalent. But again, I don't know that those men have been raping, but they've definitely been doing and trying.
Yeah, and we saw the wave of, I mean, every day I went to work and you would hear another name in the news, another name. Anna Wilding. We're out of time, but I really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much for sharing your story and giving us some insight into the world of Hollywood. It's a world I've never really been a part of. I've been kind of on the news side of all of this, so it's definitely foreign to me, and hopefully things do get better and things do change.
I hope so.
Best of luck to you. All right, folks, I know some of you may be thinking, well, what are you doing? I mean, you're only covering one side of the story. No, we have an open invitation to Harvey Weinstein and his defense here at Court TV. Open invitation. They're very well aware of it. Their publicist has been on. We listen to all sides of the story, folks. Also, Nicole Brown.